Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is your verbal mentor. In this video, I'm going to give you an analysis of this editorial that appeared in the Hindu dated April 28th. Guys, if you have been grappling with the problem of poor comprehension, if you do not understand the main idea of a passage, if you do not know how to read actively and intelligently, this is a must watch for you. So let's get to business. So amidst the national lockdown, the Supreme Court and other courts have been holding virtual proceedings. A question of concern to the bar is whether virtual courts have become the new normal and whether it means a move away from the idea of open courts towards technology based administration of justice without the physical presence of lawyers and litigants. Now, guys, before you get glued to this sentence and start thinking that this concern could be the main idea here, please note that this is not the author's concern, rather this is the bar's concern. So ask yourself, when you read this sentence, simply ask yourself, is it the author's concern? Is it something that author says? Then your answer would be no. It is not the author's concern. Author merely states the bar's concern here. Okay, which means author is yet to come to his point. What author presents here is called a third person perspective. This is the bar's opinion, the bar's perspective, and not the author's main point. It is yet to come. So let's continue. Chief Justice of India, Mr. Bobde, emphasizes that virtual courts are open courts too, and that one cannot describe them as closed or in-camera proceedings again. So this is not author's perspective again. This is Mr. Bobde's perspective. The correct way of framing the difference, he says, is to call them virtual courts as distinct from courts in congregation. So again, it is Bobde's perspective. It is again third person perspective. A three-judge bench headed by the CJI, in an order earlier this month, laid down broad norms for courts using video conferencing and ratified the validity of virtual judicial proceedings. So basically, he tells us that a three-judge bench in this sentence, he tells us a three-judge bench headed by the CJI ratified or approved the validity of virtual judicial proceedings. But again, author hasn't said what he wants to say. He's yet to arrive at his point. Two aspects are not in dispute. Now, this is what author is saying. This is not someone else's point of view. This is not bar's point of view, Bobde's point of view, the CJI's point of view. This is author's point of view now. So maybe the author has arrived at his point here. Maybe this is the author's point. We are not sure. Let's put a question mark here. Possibly author is coming to his point now, main point now. Okay? Let's see. So two aspects are not in dispute. The vital necessity to keep the courts open even during a national lockdown so that access to justice is not denied to anyone. And the second, the need to maintain physical distancing. So author agrees, with both of them. The Supreme Court Bar Association has written to the CJI and other judges that open court hearings should be restored at the earliest. Again, it is what Supreme Court Bar Association SCBA has written. So this is again SCBA's viewpoint and not the author's viewpoint. Well, so author says something in these two sentences that two aspects are not in dispute, and then he starts reporting Supreme Court Bar Association's viewpoint again, which means probably he is yet to arrive. Probably he's yet to arrive at his main idea. He has not said what he wants to say. He's still reporting other people's viewpoint here. He's still reporting the whole scene here. Okay, let's continue. Citing earlier judgments on the importance of open court hearings, the SCBA has requested that the use of video conferencing should be limited to the duration of current crisis and not become the new normal or go on to replace the open court hearing. So this is again whose perspective? This is again SCBA's perspective. Author still is beating around the bush. He's not coming to his point. Let's see. The SCBA also has a specific request. Again, reports SCBA's perspective that proceedings held virtually may also be streamed live so that access is not limited to the lawyers concerned, but is also available to the litigants and the public. Okay, so SCB has made this request that the proceedings of virtual court should be streamed live so that people, general public and litigants also get access to these proceedings. But again, this is SCBA's request. Author is yet to say something, comment upon it. Okay. The court administration should readily agree to this. Here comes the author's viewpoint here. So he says the court administration should readily agree to this. Now, guys, the kind of language the author has used here, the court administration should readily agree to this. This is probably the first sentence in the whole passage where author categorically supports, explicitly supports something, and it seems that the author has said what he wants to say, but we will still wait. We will see whether author stays at this point. He has arrived at this point. This is author's point of view clearly. Now what remains to be seen is whether author stays at this point in the passage or he digresses from this point, he moves away, he takes a transition and he goes on to some other point. This is what remains to be seen, guys, here, right? So let's see. Advocates appearing in a particular case are now barred from sharing the passwords given to them to join the proceedings through video conference. While it is theoretically possible for the parties to join their lawyers during the hearing, in practice they may not be able to travel to their offices. So these are just facts, these are author again reports facts. Media access is also limited. These issues can be resolved through live streaming. So he reiterates, he reaffirms the importance of live streaming. So he says the issues of limited access to public and the litigants, because they can't go to the lawyers' offices, and the access to justice, access to live streaming is limited. These issues can be resolved through live streaming. Okay. And in the longer term, it should become the general practice. Well, he goes on to support his viewpoint. As the use of technology is stepped up, courts should consider other steps that will speed up the judicial process and reduce the courtroom crowding. Now, this is also author's viewpoint. Courts should consider other steps, which means, author here talks about other suggestions as well. So this is also author suggestion. This is the primary point, point number one. I can say that this is again author's viewpoint. This is point number two. I'm sorry for that. In the lower courts, evidence could be restored with the consent of the parties by virtual means. In the higher courts, a system based on advanced submission of written briefs and allocations of time slots for oral arguments can be put in place. Now, again, author is giving suggestions here. It may even lead to more concise judgments. He's talking about the benefits of this process. Despite the possibility of technical and connectivity issues affecting the process, one must recognize that virtual hearings are no different from open court conversations. Okay, one must recognize, so it is a strong viewpoint, one must recognize, provided access is not limited. So author again talks about access here. He says access should not be limited. Well, by saying so, he essentially is referring to the idea of live streaming again. So live streaming. This is how you would ensure that the access is not limited, right? Live streaming. The opportunity now to remove the judicial process, to improve the judicial process, must be utilized well. So essentially, guys, if you look at this passage now, we clearly have marked author's point of view here. These are the three places, 3-4 spots where author, the last line also, this is the conclusion part. So, these three lines, these three places are where the author clearly states his point of view, and there's a coherence in these three sentences. He says the live streaming of virtual court hearings should be made available so that access to justice gets widened. There's also, he proposes some other steps that can speed up the entire judicial process. So this is going to be the main idea. However, this one is going to be the secondary idea here. If you are asked, for example, what is the main idea of the passage, the main idea will come from these three highlighted sentences. This one here first, here second, and here third, which actually talk about the same idea. So let me now try to write down the main idea of this passage. Right, let me just write down. All right, guys, so what is the main idea here? Live streaming of virtual court hearings must be encouraged to increase access to justice and improve the judicial process. That is the author's main idea, main point. So guys, if you like this video and you would like to learn more about effective reading skills and the VARC section of the CAT, you may subscribe to the channel. You may also join the Telegram group for RC discussions and doubt resolution. Your verbal mentor also offers online live classes. Links are in the comments. Happy learning, guys, and signing off, your verbal mentor. Bye-bye.